Alright, I hope you guys are ready to talk about some weird shit that happened in Russia in the 50s. And just to make sure we're in the right mood, I'm gonna play some background music, because I need something to take away from the heavy speculation that is about to occur. No, not that one, you fucking idiot! Play the fucking song I told you to play! There we go, thank you! Alright, moving on. In February 1959, a couple of Russians went missing, and it's a mystery that they went missing because they weren't alcoholics. Looking at you, Eastern Europe. A shitload of fuckwits have speculated into why the 9 hikers went missing. Was it a gaggle of horny aliens who had finally found a bunch of Russians with functioning livers? Could it have been a nefarious Soviet military experiment gone wrong?
Perhaps the local population got really bored one evening, like, Hi Vladimir. Do you also want to drink diesel and cause a morbid mystery for no apparent reason?
Or maybe they invented a new extreme sport called Siberian Circle Jerk, Winter Edition. In any case, no one really knows, but fuck it, I want to make a video anyways. The leader of the expedition was Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old student and an experienced hiker. He also had more Game Boys than anyone at his university. In the Soviet Union, Game Boys were also known as state-sanctioned entertainment product number 8. But were also commonly referred to as capitalist amusement boxes. He's the reason why it's called the Dyatlov Pass incident. He and some other students who also had names went missing after camping on the slopes of Russian Mount Doom. And sadly, on the slopes of Russian Mount Doom, they would perish. 3 weeks later, the Soviet investigators finally showed up, and as per protocol, they immediately sampled a full batch of Uncle Kolya's black market vodka. After waking up the day after and consuming a hearty breakfast of more vodka and out-of-date mayonnaise, they finally started investigating all the clues. The first thing they found on the site was a badly damaged tent that seemed to have been cut open from the inside. Inside the tent they found personal belongings, but also the majority of the clothing supposed to be used in such cold conditions. Near the tent were 9 set of footprints, but most of them were made by people either wearing only socks, 1 boot, or were even barefoot. Which of course is pretty fucking strange, considering it was the middle of winter in northern Russia. For you that don't know, that means it was fucking cold. After following the footprints in question, they start to find the remains of the lost hikers. And no, I'm not gonna show any pictures of the bodies because dead people are gross. Also, I don't want to get banned. And if you think this video is very morbid, then you are very correct. However, I got a sick sense of humor and I'm very desensitized. So buckle up, bitches. Anyways, the first 2 bodies were found under a large pine tree next to the visible remains of a small fire. The 2 bodies were not only barefoot, but were also dressed wearing nothing but their underwear. The pine tree near where the bodies were found had broken branches up to 5 meters high, which is not very Team Trees if you ask me. But considering the circumstances, I don't think an apology video on YouTube is gonna happen. After further searching, 3 more bodies were found between the large pine and the hikers' camp. The most established theory is that these hikers were trying to make their way back to their camp, but again, there were almost no clothing that could have helped them survive in the cold. And then nothing really happened for 2 months, until the last 4 bodies of the missing hikers were found about 75 meters further into the woods. They were buried under almost 4 meters of snow in a ravine, and 3 of the bodies were better dressed for the cold than the others, but considering that the other bodies didn't wear any proper clothing to begin with, that's not exactly saying much. Oh, and by the way, this is where shit gets fucking weird, so I think we have to go to the contemplation cave and analyze. Fucking empty? Alright, enough analyzing. Back to the fucking video. Right. Wait, where was I? Oh yeah, bodies. Now, right after the first bodies were found, they were examined by a coroner that didn't find anything other than hypothermia, surprise surprise, that was fatal to the hikers. However, the last 4 bodies found did have some more unusual injuries that did not conform to the others. For example, one of the bodies found had severe damage to the skull that would have been fatal, and 2 had major chest fractures that would also have been fatal. And the force required to inflict this kind of damage to the human body would be equal to that of a car crash. Or rough sex with a Yeti who's had a bad day at work. And I know I mentioned a Yeti, however I'm not saying it was a Yeti that did all this. But I'm also not saying it wasn't, nudge nudge wink wink. So, to summarize all the weird shit, 6 of the group members died of hypothermia and 3 of fatal injuries. There were no indications of other people nearby on the mountain apart from the 9 travelers. The tent used by the group had been ripped open from within. Traces from the camp show that all group members left the campsite of their own accord on foot. High levels of radiation were found on some of the victims' clothing. The fatal injuries to 3 of the bodies could not have been caused by another human being, simply because the force of the blows had been too strong. Now, At the time, it was concluded that the group died because of a compelling natural force, whatever the hell that means, and the files were promptly sent to a secret archive. Which is also pretty weird. Oh, and for all the people watching that gets an erection whenever aliens are mentioned, another group of hikers about 50 kilometers south of the Dyatlov group did report that they saw large orange spheres around the mountain on the night when the group mysteriously died. Which we all know is code for E.T. getting freaky with the probe. So then, you might ask yourself what actually happened during that cold Siberian night. The official Soviet explanation was that the group was killed by an avalanche, but this theory is iffy for a number of reasons. First and very foremost, there's never really been any evidence to suggest an avalanche to begin with. There has been hundreds of hiking expeditions to the same area and none has ever reported an avalanche. And a bunch of simulations have shown that there aren't really any conditions around that mountain to produce an avalanche. Most of the group are very experienced skiers and mountain hikers, with one of them studying for a master's certificate in skiing and mountain hiking. So it's highly unlikely that the group would set up camp, even in the dark, that would be in the path of a potential avalanche. So, for me, the most plausible explanation would be the theory put forward that the hikers were killed by parachute mines tested by the Soviet military. For example, this would explain why the hikers fucked off from their tent in such a hurry that most of them forgot the concept of freezing weather and swaggered off without any clothing. Also, remember how the last hikers to die had internal injuries bad enough that a rough gangbang from a bunch of angry Yetis was an out of the question? Yup, the parachute mines would explain those peculiar injuries too. On top of that, there are official records that confirms that the Soviet military was testing frickin' parachute mines around the area where the hikers were found, at the time of the hikers' deaths. It's like the Soviet officials denied knowing anything about it on purpose to save face, because then they knew that people would come up with a bunch of dumbass ideas themselves. However, there is a document floating around from that era that would explain almost everything. To be brief, there is a section of the document that plainly states that anyone, and furthermore, violent butt sex, heavily classified archive of Vozrode. I mean, hell, it even explains how they would. I didn't even know that a hovercraft could do that. Well, in any case, I'm glad that this document finally popped up on the web so we don't have to watch any more fucking videos about this mystery. However, be sure to tune in to the next episode of Deep Fried Mysteries, where I explore the mystery of the female orgasm with a special guest called Your Mom.